Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into just one source. It's the film Fortunae, A Love Beyond Fate. We're going to explore its intricate plot and the, deep emotional stuff going on. And our mission, for you listening, is to unpack this central, kind of impossible question the story throws at us. If you could see death coming, this terrifying power, could love, real connection, actually change destiny?
It's a fascinating setup, isn't it? Classic tragic idea, but wrapped up like a supernatural thriller. And what strikes me right away is how Shin, the main character, gets this power. It's not some gentle gift.
No, not at all. It comes from this absolutely horrific trauma.
Yeah, the plane crash.
Exactly. The story kicks off there. Shin's just a little boy, somehow survives this devastating wreckage, desperate, looking for his parents. He hears another child, a girl, crying nearby.
Right, and he tries to reach her.
But he can't. Before he gets there, a piece of debris falls, and she's gone. Just silence. And it's right then, in that moment of total, awful helplessness, that his world shifts.
And that origin really frames the whole ability, doesn't it? It's not a superpower in the fun sense. It's like a constant, painful reminder of that failure, that loss.
He gets the Fortunae. And we should be clear what that means. It's not like vague feelings or dreams.
No, it's very specific. He literally sees people's futures, their deaths, shown by their bodies, specifically their hands starting to, well, blur or fade out, disappearing almost.
The hands, the very things we use to act, to connect, that visual is so strong. And it forces you to ask, okay, if you know what's coming, this terrible blueprint, are you supposed to step in, or are you just cursed to watch?
That's the core tension, isn't it? Knowledge versus intervention, the obligation versus the personal cost. It pretty much defines his whole adult life.
So fast forward years later, adult Shin, he's trying to live a, pretty normal life, works as a mechanic, seems honest, good at his job.
Yeah, his boss clearly values him, treats him well, even offers him a manager spot in a new garage. There's this sense of potential stability.
Yeah. But then you get that friction, the jealous coworker, the guy who feels overlooked because Shin's doing well.
Classic workplace drama, really. And it escalates, doesn't it? The coworker gets so angry, so spiteful, he smashes Shin's phone. And it's not just any phone.
No, it's this rare old model he clearly treasures, which kind of ironically leads him straight to the romantic interest.
Right. He takes the broken phone to a repair shop and meets AO. She's the one who can actually fix this really difficult old phone.
And you see it straight away. He's just captivated. Her skill, her calm way of handling it, there's an immediate connection.
But before that can really develop, the power, the curse, rears its head again. We see these first really painful examples of the Fortunae working, showing how agonizing it is when he feels powerless.
Yeah, like on the metro, he sees some random commuter's hands just fading away, and he just freezes, can't act.
And then later, he bumps into another stranger whose whole body is starting to disappear. He follows him, almost morbidly curious, and just has to watch as the guy gets hit by a car. Dies right there.
It really hammers home the difference between knowing something and being able to do something about it. He has the information, but no way to use it effectively. It's just torment.
And when he kind of vaguely talks about it, hypothetically, with his boss's daughter, her reaction is instant. She calls it a curse, not a gift, a curse. That really sets the tone.
Which brings us to the big turning point. He goes back to see AO, the woman who fixed his phone, the one he's clearly interested in, and suddenly he sees her hands starting to fade.
Everything changes then, doesn't it? When it's someone he's starting to care about, that abstract problem becomes intensely personal. He can't just stand by.
No way. He decides he has to intervene. So he invites her to meet him, coffee shop, right after work. It's not really a date, is it? It's an intervention. He needs to disrupt her routine, pull her out of the path of whatever's coming.
And, amazingly, it works. While they're sitting there chatting, he literally watches her hands heal. The fading stops. They become solid again.
Of course, she has no idea what's going on. He tries to explain this crazy thing about fate, and she thinks he's maybe a little bit odd, apologizes, leaves.
But the next day, she finds him. She has a newspaper. She tells him this factory near her usual route home, the one she would have walked past. It was attacked that night. People were killed.
And she realizes if he hadn't delayed her, diverted her to that coffee shop, she would have been there. He actually saved her life.
So now we know intervention is possible. It can work.
But then we immediately see the flip side, the cost. Remember the jealous coworker? The boss fires him after he throws a punch. As the guy storms out, Shin looks over at his boss, his mentor.
And sees his hands starting to fade. Danger again. Immediate.
The fired coworker comes back. He's got an iron rod. He's clearly going to seriously hurt the boss. Shin doesn't even think. He just jumps in the way, takes the hit maybe, or just deflects it enough.
He saves the boss. But the instant the boss is safe, bam, Shin collapses. Massive heart attack. Ends up in the hospital.
And this is where the film lays out the rules, sort of internal logic of this power.
Yeah, it's the consequence. You change the outcome, you pay a price. The universe balances the books, so to speak.
While he's recovering in the hospital, there's this strange scene. He sees a little girl in the ward, and her body is disappearing too. He chases after her.
And that leads him to the doctor, who it turns out also has the fortune eye.
Ah, the mentor figure. Or maybe the cautionary tale.
Exactly. The doctor gives him the hard truth. He says, basically, look, we're not gods. We can see this stuff, but we absolutely must not try to change fate. Why? Because doing so puts our own lives on the line.
So Shin's heart attack wasn't random. It was the direct physical price for saving his boss, overturning that predetermined death.
Right. It's like a cosmic balancing act. You pull a life back from fate. Fate takes something from you, your own life force, essentially. The doctor's warning is stark. Choose very, very carefully if you ever intervene, because you might be spending your own life.
So Shin, he now understands the stakes. He tries to heed the warning. There's a scene where he goes to a funeral. It's for the friend of that wealthy customer, the one who was rude to him earlier.
And Shin had seen this man fading before he died. He saw it coming.
But this time, remembering the doctor's words, remembering the heart attack, he deliberately chose not to intervene. He followed the rule.
And the consequence of that choice is immediate regret. He sees the dead man's little daughter crying at the funeral, and it just floods him with guilt. It reminds him of the girl at the plane crash all those years ago, the one he couldn't save.
So the film really asks you, what's worse? The physical cost of intervening or the crushing moral weight of doing nothing when you know you could?
It's a terrible bind. And that agony seems to push him forward in his relationship with Ao. Things get serious. He proposes.
And she accepts. So there's this moment of hope, connection, maybe a future. But of course, fate isn't done with him, not on this scale.
No, it escalates dramatically. He's just sitting in a park one day, and he sees this whole group kids on a field trip, their teacher, all of them starting to disappear.
Oh, wow.
And then the next day, he's at the train station, and it's happening again. Lots of commuters, travelers, their bodies are fading. He puts it together.
The train. Something big is going to happen to the 7:30 a.m. train the next morning.
He even figures out the specific cause. Something about a big construction box falling onto the tracks, onto the carriage.
Yeah.
A massive accident is imminent.
And the gut punch. That's Ao's train, the one she takes every single morning to get to work.
So now it's not just strangers, or even his boss. It's the person he loves most, caught up in this huge impending tragedy along with all those kids and other people.
He has to try something. He calls the school, he knows the kids are going on that trip, he saw the letter, he tries to get them to cancel the train booking.
But how does he explain it? He can't exactly say, I see death coming, can he? He has no valid reason in the eyes of the world. He just sounds crazy.
This is maybe a point where you wonder, couldn't he, call in an anonymous tip about the construction site? Warn someone official?
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But the film kind of forces him into this corner. It seems designed so that his foresight is useless through normal channels. It pushes him towards a direct, personal, physical intervention being the only option left. His body is his only tool against fate here.
Right, so his plan becomes desperate. He writes Ao this long letter, pours everything out, the power, the plane crash, how much he loves her, and he asks her to just drop everything and go on a sudden 3-day trip with him, starting immediately, trying to pull her away from that train.
But fate, or maybe just bad luck, intervenes again. The next morning, just as they should be leaving, Ao gets a text. A colleague is sick, she has to go into work, the trip is off.
The clock has run out, he knows she's gonna get on that train.
And things get even more complicated. The teacher from the park, the one whose kids he was checking, she was worried about this strange man, understandably. She reported him.
So the police are literally outside his house when he needs to race to the station. He has to physically evade them, run, just to get there in time.
It's pure chaos leading up to the climax. He makes it to the station, sees Ao getting onto the 7:30 train. He knows the box is going to fall. There's no time to stop that.
His only choice is to stop the train itself.
Yeah, he grabs one of those smoke candles like a flare, runs onto the tracks, right into the path of the oncoming train. Stands there.
Forces the driver to slam on the emergency brakes. The train screeches to a halt.
Just as the massive construction box crashes down onto the tracks nearby.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly where the carriage would have been.
He did it. He saved Ao. He saved the children, the teacher, everyone on board.
But the cost? Intervening on that scale, saving so many lives destined to end. It's too much, defying the doctor's warning so profoundly.
His heart just gives out instantly. He collapses right there on the tracks. He dies saving them.
It seems like the end. A tragic, heroic sacrifice. Final.
But this is where, as you say, the deep dive really gets interesting. Because what happens after his death, what Ao discovers, it completely reframes everything. His death, their love, the power itself.
Yeah, these final revelations are huge. We need to unpack them carefully. So revelation number 1 comes when Ao reads that letter he left her.
And she realizes something about the plane crash, doesn't she? Something monumental.
She realizes she was the little girl crying in the wreckage.
What? No way.
Yes. And Shin did reach her. He saved her, pulled her away just before that debris fell. But the shock, the trauma of it all, made him completely forget that crucial detail. His first act, even before the power manifested fully, was saving her.
So her life, her survival that day was tied to him from the very beginning. His good fortune, as she might have thought of it, was actually his intervention.
Exactly. The narrative hints that maybe his fate, his power, was always intertwined with hers. Maybe the power wasn't born from failure, but from that forgotten act of saving her. He was maybe always meant to protect her.
Wow. Okay, that changes things. But you said there's a second twist, even deeper.
Yes, and this one involves Ao's own choices leading up to the train incident. We thought she was just an innocent victim, right? Someone Shin needed to save from fate.
Yeah, that seemed pretty clear.
But remember when Shin asked her on that sudden 3-day trip? The one she had to cancel for work? Just before that? Ao had seen something herself.
Seen what? She didn't have the fortune eye, did she?
That's the mystery. The film implies. Maybe through their intense connection, maybe the power is somehow contagious or perceptible to someone that close. She saw Shin's body starting to disappear.
Wait, she knew he was fading. She knew his death was coming.
She knew. She realized the trip wasn't just a whim. It was him trying to avoid his own fate, likely tied to intervening for someone else. She knew he was in danger because of his power.
So when she canceled the trip and said she had to go to work.
She wasn't just being dutiful. She knew the 7:30 a.m. train was the focal point of the danger Shin foresaw. She boarded that train deliberately.
Why? To make him save her.
Not necessarily. Maybe she hoped that by putting herself right in the danger zone, knowing he would likely follow, she could somehow share the burden, absorb some of the cost, force a situation where they faced it together rather than him bearing the fatal price alone. It was her own form of sacrifice.
So she wasn't just a damsel in distress. She was actively participating, trying to protect him by putting herself at risk alongside him.
Precisely. It transforms his sacrifice from a one-sided rescue into this mutual, intertwined defiance of fate. Their love, born from that initial crash, deepened by his protection, culminated in her choosing to face the end with him.
It suggests maybe the rules aren't quite so rigid when a connection is that strong. The doctor said intervention costs your life. But maybe when two lives are that bound together,
the cost becomes shared, or the outcome changes in ways the rules don't account for. His death still happened. It finalized the save, ensuring she lived. But her choice to be there, knowing what she knew, makes it a shared destiny, not just his lonely burden.
So the fortune eye, in the end, it doesn't just show us death is coming. It reveals the incredible, almost terrifying lengths people go to, the costs they'll pay to protect the ones they love. That human connection trying to rewrite the inevitable.
And the film ends on that note, doesn't it? Ao finds the letter. She finally understands everything. His power, their shared history from the crash, his sacrifice, her own role. She puts on the engagement rings he bought. It's tragic, yes, but there's a sense that their connection, their love, truly did manage to operate outside the fatal rules, even if it ended in loss. She feels his presence in that choice.
Which leaves us, and leaves you listening, with a final thought to chew on. The doctor's warning was clear. Changing fate is deadly for the person with the fortune eye. But given that Ao was the girl from the crash, and she knew Shin was fading when she boarded that train, was Shin's fate sealed the moment he fell in love with her, the person he was always meant to save? Or did that final shared act of defiance, her willingness to face it with him, actually represent a different kind of victory over the fortune eye's rules? What risk, ultimately, are you willing to face for the person you love?